The alarm blared at exactly 6. Sarah stared at the ceiling, the light from her phone screen cutting through the pre-dawn shadows. A message blinked on the display. "Why did you not text me back last night?" The words sat heavy on the screen, a demand wrapped in accusation. She gripped the edge of the mattress, then slid the phone face down onto the nightstand. She did not open the app. She did not type a response. She sat up, the floorboards cold beneath her feet, and moved to the corner of the room. She reached for her running shoes, pulling the laces tight until her knuckles went white. This was the first red flag, and she refused to let it dictate the rhythm of her morning. She stood, exhaled, and opened the door. The hallway was empty. She stepped out into the crisp air, forcing her legs into a steady, rhythmic pace. Every stride was a deliberate strike against the weight of the message. She ran to clear the static, to find the silence that the apartment no longer provided. By the time she reached the end of the block, the message was still there, but her pulse was steady. By 7, she sat at her desk. She opened her notebook and pinned down 3 goals with sharp black ink. 1 for her career, 1 for her personal growth, 1 for herself alone. The phone on the desk buzzed, then vibrated again, then a 3rd time. She ignored the screen, but the rhythmic ticking of the notification chime cut through her focus. "You are always working," the message read. She stared at the words. She knew the difference between a partner who fuels growth and one who demands total control. She pushed the phone aside and left the office. At lunch, she sat across from a friend, the noise of the cafe washing over them. She described the cycle of guilt that felt like a tightening knot in her chest. She spoke of the demands, the constant need for justification, and the way her own ambitions were treated as threats. Her friend leaned in, voice low. "Does he celebrate your wins, or does he minimize them?" Sarah stopped mid-sentence. She looked at her water glass, the surface perfectly still. The question hung in the air, undeniable and sharp. She realized then that the balance was not just shifting, it was already gone. Sarah unlocked the front door and stepped inside. The apartment air felt stagnant, heavy, with a tension that had been building since morning. Her partner was pacing the length of the living room, his footsteps sharp and uneven against the hardwood. He stopped the moment she entered. He turned, his gaze fixed on her with an intensity that demanded an immediate explanation. He began to speak, his voice rising, demanding to know where she had been and why she had ignored his messages. Sarah did not shout back. She did not offer excuses or try to justify her time. She stood perfectly still in the center of the entryway, her hands resting at her sides. She waited until his voice dipped, then spoke with a calm that seemed to catch him off guard. "I need space to focus on my goals," she said. He scoffed, a sharp sound of disbelief that echoed off the walls. He took a step toward her, but she did not retreat. Instead, she turned, walked to the guest room, and pulled the door shut. The click of the latch was final. She stood on the other side, leaning her forehead against the wood. It was not an act of aggression. It was the first act of preservation. The sun hit the floorboards at 6. Sarah did not wait for the alarm. She opened the bedroom door and found him in the kitchen, the space between them filled with the silence of a long night. She did not hesitate. She crossed the room and placed her hands flat on the counter. "I value this relationship," she said, her voice steady and audible. "But I value my independence more. We compromise to build a future, not to shrink our lives." He looked down at the floor, his shoulders hunched, his jaw tight. He did not speak. He did not offer a path toward growth. He simply remained static, trapped in his own demands. Sarah watched him for a beat, waiting for a shift that would not come. She turned, walked to the hallway, and retrieved her bag. She moved with purpose. She did not look back. She gripped the handle of the front door, turned the deadbolt, and pushed. The door swung wide, revealing the stairwell. She stepped out into the hallway, the cool air hitting her face. She closed the door behind her, the latch clicking with a finality that signaled the end. She walked down the stairs and out into the morning, leaving the apartment and the cycle behind her. The park was empty, save for the rhythmic crunch of gravel under her boots. The air carried the sharp, clean bite of autumn, cooling the heat of the walk. Sarah navigated toward a wooden bench overlooking the central pond. She sat, placing her bag down, and reached into her pocket for the notebook. The paper was crisp, already marked by the 3 goals she had defined hours earlier. She uncapped her pen. The scratch of the nib against the page, the only sound in the quiet space. She wrote a 4th goal. "Trust my intuition." The ink sat dark and permanent against the white. She closed the book. The weight that had tightened her chest for weeks was gone, replaced by the steady rhythm of her own breathing. She did not look back toward the city. She stood up, tucked the notebook away, and turned toward the path leading out of the park. She held her head high, her gaze fixed on the horizon. She was not waiting for permission to move forward. She walked with a stride that was hers alone, leaving the bench, the park, and the past behind. The path ahead was wide, unmapped, and entirely her own to define.